my face and all they do is
So, Friend, what are we sipping on today?
here I am. Just
Hey friend! Welcome to the Hey Frienn podcast. This is my friend Paulisha.
And this is my friend Tanisha, and this is where it gets real.
So today we have a special guest. We have Koya sitting with us today.
So, friend, what we sipping on today?
So today we have a mocktail. This is a love note mocktail is what I'm calling it. It has muggled raspberries, lime juice, honey, raspberry syrup, blackberry, and raspberry soda. And it's garnished with blackberries and mint.
It's super cute, and it's going with the aesthetic.
Yes.
So let's cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to a good episode.
Cheers to a good episode. I love it, friend. It's giving me like, I don't want to say Jolly Rancher, but I probably want to say like a blow pop. I don't know.
I feel like it's almost like a mojito, like
that
but,
mint.
Yeah, but it's not. The mint is just the garnish. It's not even in
No.
there, but it's like that lime.
Maybe
That
smelling it.
I don't know. It took me a while. I made 2 cartons. I had to switch 2 cartons of blackberries to get this juice.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's a little bit of tart, a little bit of sweet. I
Yeah.
think it's the perfect combination, you know, because I don't like too sweet drinks. I don't like too tart drinks, but it's the perfect combination of both.
You know, friend, I always got to take a second sip. Yeah, I got to take a second sip, kind of see. Oop, get that out the way. Yeah.
I had a good time making this one. I was like, I was like, dang, I got to make more because I'm over here. I'm drinking.
I love
your
it.
big one with this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that tart. It's in there.
It's that lime. You
It's
love a lime.
I
Yeah.
love a good lime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
So we have Koya who is here today with us, and we're gonna tell y'all a little bit about Koya if you already don't know. So Koya, she actually has a background in radio. She also has been seen on the show Up with Angela Yee, and also
Sandra.
Cassandra.
Cassandra. The Cassandra show as well. I was working on that name, I promise y'all. I was like, I'm gonna get it right. And still got it wrong. Now she also does her own events, such as a dinner conversation series called Risky, and also Talk with Koya, which is her podcast, and her arts work, and also the Tea Party as well. So in addition to those events, she also hosts a show called Ebonics. It's a game show. It's on Afro TV, and she has developed a card game called Talk. She's also a part of Sisters Organizing to Survive. She's a chairwoman there, and she is an ambassador for Talk Test Treat of Central Florida. That is a tongue.
It is.
It is. And she is also certified to test and counsel individuals with HIV. So please join us and welcome Koya.
Yes.
Thank you for that intro.
No problem. I was like, let me make sure I check all the boxes.
You got everything.
Yes,
It's
I was
a
like,
lot.
you do a lot. Yeah. And that's
You're so inspiring as well.
Oh, thank you.
That's what I realized. I was like, okay, I remember you from like back when you were like hosting parties and on the radio.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I didn't realize you did so many other things as well. So I was like, let me make sure I got all of the things that she does, because it's a lot. You do actually a lot for the community. So yeah, really appreciate that.
It is a lot. It is a lot. Sometimes I forget that I do all of that until I go to switch hats and I'm like, okay, today I have to be this person. But I love it. I love everything I do. Weirdly, it all kind of ties in together, although it is a bunch of individual things and individual hats that I wear. We bring it all full circle and make it all work. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you today and just give you your flowers, because as a Black woman of society and you have all those good things happening, being a spokesperson for HIV is like top tier. So can you just share your story and your journey with us and how you started?
Yeah, okay. So I moved to Orlando to go to school for radio TV. I didn't know which one would come first. Radio ended up coming first. I had a radio show on campus at UCF, and it was the #1 radio show on campus at the time. Back in the day, 102 Jams was like the popular
Radio
radio
station.
station.
Yeah.
And then one day they just went away. And then Clear Channel popped up with this new station called 104.5 The Beat. And so I was just doing my little college radio show at the time, and I'm like, what are the odds that they will pick this little college girl to be their new radio host? Anyways, I applied, and at the time, like I said, 102 Jams had gone away. So I had all of these radio jocks who had 20 plus years in the game that are competing for the same position that I am. So in my mind, it's like, there's no way they're gonna pick the college girl versus these people with so much experience.
Right.
God does his thing every time. And they chose me. So I became a radio host for 104.5 The Beat. Clear Channel owned it at the time. Later, iHeart acquired it, and it became a iHeart station. And so, yeah, who is the number one advertiser for radio? People in the club, because they need to promote all the time, you know, their club parties, their club, all of that. So that's kind of my tie into nightlife. Before I acquired my position at iHeart, though, I knew that I needed to get into nightlife because I saw that everyone who was on the radio worked in nightlife somehow. So I saw that as my avenue to, like, you know, slither in there the way that I wanted to. So I think that kind of helped too when I went to apply for this job. It was like, okay, she already has acquired a space in nightlife. So this kind of goes hand in hand. At the time, you know, I was a door girl. I went from a door girl to a VIP host to a bottle girl to hosting events. You know, I kind of just like worked my way up. And then I started doing my own events in nightlife and then being on radio. So I was on radio for 9 years, still doing nightlife stuff. I mean, there was a time where I was Monday through Sunday. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Tuesday through Sunday. The only day I had off was Monday, in nightlife every single night, but then waking up in the morning and doing radio. So I would be on radio from 10 to 2 p.m. and then nightlife 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Right.
So it was like the middle of the day is when I kind of got like my rest and downtime and everything. And then I'll be back up in the morning doing radio. So yeah, from radio, I eventually knew that TV was going to come along somehow, some way. I didn't know when. I let God do his thing in that arena. So 9 years after radio, that's when TV kind of came along. And as you mentioned, I was a contributor to the Sandra Show. So I would go once a week and I would talk about entertainment news, things that were happening on social media, trending topics, things like that. And then later acquired my own television show, which Ebonics, like you talked about. So yeah, but how I got in with the Florida Department of Health. So I am the ambassador for the Florida Department of Health. We don't necessarily brand ourselves as the Florida Department of Health because that's intimidating to people. A lot of people aren't as trusting when they hear a name like that.
Yeah.
Government.
Correct. There you go.
They see.
And the history with black people with the government is just not the greatest. So we brand ourselves as Talk, Test, Treat, which is an extension of the Florida Department of Health. And then I'm the chairperson of Sisters Organizing to Survive, which is geared towards black women in the education of HIV, specifically with black women. Talk, Test, Treat is a little bit more broad, but black women are the highest when you talk about new HIV cases. So there needed to be an initiative that specifically focused on black women, and that's what SOS is. So how I got involved with that is the Florida Department of Health came to me, and they had one campaign, and they were like, hey, you know, we have this thought about working in a social media influencer. Will you be willing to partner with us for this one campaign? And I was like, sure. So we partnered for one campaign. And the campaign generated over 10,000 views within 24 hours. Wow. And that's not really a lot when you think about the social media world, but when you're talking about something like HIV, it's like, oh, wait, there's an interest in this. Like, our community is invested in having these type of conversations. And so I think it sparked something in them as well as sparking something in me that made us be like, maybe we need to make this a longer partnership than just a one-off. And then they kind of came to me with, we had a billboard, 2022, I think it was. We had a billboard, it was right in front of Flyers.
West Colonial.
Yeah, West Colonial, yeah. And there were a few others throughout the city, but everybody go to Flyers, so that was a great marketing experience there, having it there. But I remember them coming to me and specifically saying, because at the time I was solely doing radio, and they were like, no other media personality will partner with us to put their face on a billboard because they don't want the association with HIV. And I thought that was
funny.
Not even was it funny, I thought that was just such a lame excuse as to why you wouldn't be willing to put your face on something to help out our community.
Right,
I don't
right.
care what it's associated with. If this could impact our community, sign me up for it. Put me on it. And I think with the willingness of me wanting to do that and willing to do that, it kind of opened up their mind of like, okay, what else can we do with this girl?
Yeah.
And so now we're 5 years into our partnership and we've done some amazing things.
I
so
love
yeah.
that. I love that. God be showing out.
He does.
He
He
be
does his
showing
thing.
out.
Listen, I remember when I was like, God, HIV, like I know nothing about this. I've never taken at the time, I'd never taken a class.
Yeah.
I knew minimal about this, disease, this virus, everything. But, through a 501c3 class, every year you get updated. They teach you everything you know. And now I'm certified to counsel and test for HIV. And I'm doing it like it's nothing.
Yes.
I thought that's when I was like, I was watching something else. I think I was actually watching the podcast and you said that. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
she can actually test and counsel individuals. I was like, to me, that just showed like your dedication. Like,
Right.
I'm not just the face because, they reached out to me. I'm not just an ambassador. Like, no, like I'm actually in the field. Like I actually can do the work and do the work,
Yeah.
not just talk about it. Like I can actually do it.
Well, I thought that was important too, right? Like I can't be out here educating people and talking about things I don't know what I'm talking about,
Right.
And it also makes you a trusted source to people. Like when you get on that van, like, hey, you may see me coming in there to test you,
Yeah,
Like
right.
how could I be out here educating and giving people tools, knowledge, and materials if I'm not willing to do my due diligence myself,
Right. Right. So growing up and during your whole, transition from UCF to the clubs, and I feel like we have to sometimes trust the process. So what was the difficulties that you ran into when you were transitioning during your journey?
As far as out of nightlife into what I'm doing
Yes.
now? Ooh, so transitions, let's see. I feel like it's one of those things where like when God speaks to you, he speaks to you kind of thing. And at the time it was like COVID that was happening and I feel like the world kind of shut down and I feel like we as a society, we as a community started to zone in and focus in more on what truly matters,
Yeah.
Although like I wanted this career in radio, I wanted a career eventually in TV and I saw my way of getting in there was by way of nightlife. I did see that it was not serving me and it had no purpose
Yeah.
in life and I was really yearning and looking for something that was going to attach me to purpose. And I remember sitting in my house one day and I was like, God, like I need to be attached to purpose. Like here I am, the clubs are shut down, things are going on and I'm worried about how I can't go to the club and make my money. And it sounds so trivial at the time because it's like Kim, people are dying. That's how I felt. Like, okay, COVID is going on. People are literally dying, and you talking about you can't go to the club. So I just sat with God, and God was like, "Remember that campaign you did with them people? Like, go over there and ask them, do they want a long-term, social media influencer?" And to me, it was so intimidating. And I remember saying back to him, like, God, that sounds so big. That sounds so intimidating. That one campaign I could do. I know social media. But how am I going to go talk to these people about HIV? And you really have to trust him and trust his process. And once I saw what he was beginning to do, I fully submit to him. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with the nightlife thing. Like, it's cool, it's great money, it's all the things. And when you're young, you want to be out there. You want to do all the fly popping things. But once I saw that God truly wanted to attach me to purpose, I fully submit to him. And I was like, I'm done with this. Here you go. Lead the way. And it got me into things of, doing the risky dinner conversation. Here in my mind, I was like, God, give me this influencer dinner party here in Orlando. And he was like, no, we're going to take it around the United States and we're going to educate everybody in these communities about what this is. I saw a smaller vision. He had a bigger one. So I think it's just a testament when you truly submit to God and trust his plans. It's like when you have to give God the small teddy bear and you don't see he has a teddy bear 10 times bigger behind his back. Me submitting that nightlife situation to him and thinking I'm just about to get a dinner party here in Orlando, he had one 10 times bigger. Like, hey, no, you're about to educate people across the entire United States. So fully submitting to him, trusting his process. So it wasn't hard, but it also wasn't that easy because nightlife was pretty much all I had known for the past 9 years.
Right.
So it was intimidating to go into a whole new arena at the time, not having the tools and not knowing that he was going to send me the tools, the knowledge, materials, everything that I needed. So yeah.
I love it. I love that, friend. So that is just such amazing.
That was a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's definitely blown. I'm blown because God, I hear stories like that all the time. And every time I hear it, it still blows my mind. Because what God would do is put you through a process and then put it in a box and put a nice, pretty bow on it. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like everything that you did just kind of came together. And, you know, just you being a talk show host, being a radio host, like it just came so beautifully and wrapped in purpose, which I feel like God always does that. And he always shows out for us. But tell us a little bit more about your sister's organization, To Survive.
Yes, so my co-host always gets on me about this because I, come from a radio TV background. I'm used to enunciating and pronouncing things a certain way, so it is sisters. Oftentimes, no, but I say sisters all the time.
So it's sisters.
It's sisters organizing To Survive. So yes, we are a grassroots organization rooted in helping Black women fight against HIV and AIDS. And so we are the Orlando chapter, but there are multiple chapters throughout the United States and Florida. And so basically what we do is equip Black women with the tools, knowledge, materials they need to go out and combat HIV. So growing up, I don't know if you guys remember, but there are programs like DARE. There were like the Florida Department of Health that will come out and talk to you at school and things like that. Well, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Orange County is an abstinence-only county. So they don't allow us to go into schools and educate these young people. So a lot of people are ill-equipped when they're going about their life when it comes to sex, condoms, viruses, STIs, STDs, any of that. So one of the goals for SOS was to educate Black women specifically. In the United States, Black women account for more than 50% of new HIV cases. Now, when you go and you see billboards or commercials or advertisement, do you see Black women at the forefront of any of this? No. You see a white couple, you see gay people, you never really see Black women. So if we are the leading cases of new HIV cases in the United States, why is the advertisement not a representation of that? So we're ill-equipped. So this initiative was to bring Black women together and help them be able to combat this virus so that we can lower that number, and it's less than 50% of us that are accounting for it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love.
Because it's a lot of times, like if you don't see it, it doesn't. If there's
Yeah,
no
if there's no
representation, then it doesn't seem as if it affects you at all.
Correct.
Exactly.
So the fact that it's a high number, over 50%,
Yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, that it's just kind of like just a blind eye is turned to it because it's like, oh, that person doesn't look like me, or that's not going to happen to me because that's not even geared towards me. The possibility isn't even there a lot of times because there's no representation. So
Absolutely.
I love that.
And I think it's very good for our young folks too, because at least in schools, I don't know if they still do this, but they had like sexual health class.
That's what she's saying. They don't do that anymore.
Sexual health, and to not have that is crazy because I remember doing that in middle school, like 6th grade. So what can we do as members of society or in our community? How can we get information out there to our younger folks, like some things that we can do to educate the community?
Yeah, so if you go to www.talktestcfl.com, we have multiple avenues to link you to places to go get care, to go get tested. If you just want facts about HIV, if you want to order an at-home test kit and you don't even feel comfortable going in, or say you are a young individual who, you aren't getting this information from school or your parents, take your own due diligence and go to this website and order your own test, I think we can't be oblivious to the fact that kids are having sex.
Right.
Sure, we don't want them to, and we would love for them to remain abstinent. But that's not the case.
That's not the reality.
It's in the music. It's on social media.
Right.
Like, it's being pushed in their face at an all-time high. And if that's going to be the case, let's make sure these kids are not ill-equipped. Let's make sure that they are equipped with the tools, knowledge, and materials that they need. So I would say go into that website, yes, but then also parents, sisters, aunts, family members, people in the community, take initiative to have these kind of conversations with these kids, man. We can't just assume that the parents have done it. Because let's talk about growing up in you guys' households. Did your parents ever pull you aside and sit you down and have conversations about sex or HIV and STIs? No, that doesn't happen in a lot of Black and brown communities. So we have to now, we the new adults, y'all. I know it's
Right.
scary.
It's crazy.
I think about it all the time. But we are the new adults, so we have to equip these kids with the knowledge that they need to go out here and combat STIs and HIV.
I think even doing the due diligence of getting these type of resources and doing research myself so that I can know how to even approach my child.
Yeah.
So I could be like, hey, you could check out this website yourself. They're always on the iPad anyways.
Right.
Or hey, here's, this is what this looks like. Or even ordering a kit and just showing them so that it is not so intimidating. Like to get that type of education at home. We have so many like resources at the palm of our hands with our iPads, our phones. And like you said, we can order a kit or we can get on the website. I think it's important for us as parents to educate ourselves so that we can educate the next generation.
Yeah.
For sure.
Why do you think it's such a taboo to have the conversation about like sex or to have the conversation about HIV or STIs? Why do you think it's so taboo?
I think for exactly that, because we aren't starting at home with it. And then you have to think too, our parents are only doing what they saw their parents do. So it becomes a generational thing passed down and passed down. But that's why I'm saying we have to break the generational curse, y'all. We got to step in and be like, no, we have to normalize this kind of conversation because it's not normalized in our community. We can't even really talk about sex or condoms or a period, let alone, around our family. A lot of people didn't even learn how to use a tampon or a pad. It didn't happen at home. It happened by way of a friend or it happened by way of a cool aunt or something like that. So I think it's very taboo because of the stigma, too, that's associated with it. A lot of people are just ignorant. We're not living in the 1980s when we had minimal information about HIV and STIs. There's now a plethora amount of resources and education out there for us to educate ourselves. But again, we had the DARE programs, we had DOH coming out. These kids don't have that. So it's becoming more and more taboo because no one's talking about it. And now you're 23 years old just finding out what a condom is and knowing how to use it. So I think we have to normalize a lot of these conversations more. I think we have to educate ourselves. I think we have to get rid of the stigma associated with HIV and STIs and sex in general. Let's have the conversations, y'all. You know, we actually had a Talk with Koya live show, and we bridged the gap between women and trans women. So there's a lot of division there just because I'm going to tell you, and people may not want to accept it, but doing work in this arena for the past 5 years, whether you like it or not, trans women and the men we share are sharing each other. We're all, it's happening.
Right.
So instead of choosing to have some divide there, I chose to do the unity thing and bring us both together and sit us down and talk. And if we're going to be sharing and sleeping with the same men, these men aren't going to get tested. How many times have you heard a man say, well, my girl got tested, so I'm good? The men aren't going to get tested, so it's up to us. So if we're going to be sharing these men, how can we make sure you are protected and making sure that we are protected because these men aren't doing it? And so the Talk with Koya live podcast event was about coming together, a panel of women and trans women just talking about how we can make sure that each of us are protected because these men aren't going to be the one to do it.
Whew. Yeah. So am I
That's
crazy?
heavy.
I feel like back in the day, it was a lot of like black men on the forefront with HIV and AIDS, and I didn't really see a lot of women. Do you feel the same way or no?
I don't really remember seeing a lot. I think, you know what? I remember seeing like an Oprah episode of like, it was like a young girl. I think she ended up having like HIV, but I don't really recall.
A lot of men.
I also wasn't
old enough.
right, old enough to be like, oh yeah, let me sit, and even mature enough to be like, let me sit down and
But I
and
was
watch
grateful
this.
to have DARE and to
Yeah,
have all that.
I did not
stuff.
know that. That's no longer a thing.
It's not a thing. And so their thought process is, well, we're pushing abstinence. Sure, you can push it all you want to. It's just not.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not. These kids are out here doing that. And to your point, black men were at the forefront at one point. But it's becoming black women because the black men aren't getting tested. And who are these black women getting it from? Heterosexual, and I say that loosely, heterosexual black men. The men aren't getting tested. So that's why we are now at the forefront of it because we're the ones getting tested.
Makes sense.
They're relying on us for their test results.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah.
So crazy.
That is so crazy. So, how do you want to be remembered by your audience and your community?
Yeah, man, like I told you, once guys start to do that shift with me and starting to attach me to purpose and things that matter, that's what my goal was from there on out. Like, I want to be remembered as the person who helped her community. I want to be the person who saw a need and met a need. I want all these creative abilities and speaking abilities and all these gifts that God gave me. I wanted to be able to pour back in my community and help uplift us as much as possible. So I want people to remember me as the girl that was like, okay, I saw a need in my community and I'm gonna create events, podcasts, whatever that is, card games to go out there and help our community. Because with the card game, for instance, it's not something that you can purchase as of now. Hopefully one day we can. But it was
Soon.
Right. Speak it and God will make it happen. But it was more of an educational tool, you know, that you can pull these cards out when you're sitting across from your friends or having a game night. And we can have a lot of this uncomfortable conversation because it is so taboo. But these deck of cards can be used very as an instrumental tool to help us break down some of the stigma and help us not make things so taboo. So that was the goal of that, you know, and then in partnership with the podcast, it kind of comes full circle. But I want to be remembered as that girl, you know, who was willing to help her community, who didn't care what it looked like to the outside people. But at the end of the day, I made a mark and I left an impact on my community and let them know, like, hey, y'all, I got y'all, what we need.
Yeah, but not
you're doing a great job.
Around the world. Right?
Yeah.
The fact that I think you're going to Chicago.
So we did Chicago. We're going to Atlanta next month. So the 14th of March we'll be in Atlanta with Risky.
Yes. So not the community, girl, the world.
Yes. Listen, God is doing his thing. I saw it as
Yes.
an Orlando thing, but God said, no, we're going to make it an all over thing.
Yes.
I love that.
I've seen that too, where you are, you know, going to different cities and different states. Because I think originally when I seen it, it was just in Orlando. I saw the Orlando one. And then I was looking again at your social media and I was like, oh no, like she's going to be in Chicago and now Atlanta.
Dallas,
So I was like,
Houston,
okay. Like I said, I just thought it was more so of an Orlando thing. But when I was looking more into it, I was like, oh no, it's not just an Orlando thing. Like she is all over the U.S. hosting these events.
I love that. That is so good.
So I have another question too. So how can individuals get on your game show, Ebonics?
Yeah, so there's a link in my bio. Just go sign up. We're always looking for people from all over. So we film here locally in Orlando, but it airs nationwide on Comcast Xfinity. You can also view it on YouTube for people who don't have Comcast. So Comcast isn't big in Orlando. We're more of a Spectrum market. Like everybody got Spectrum. But yeah, you can view it on YouTube. You can view it on Comcast. You can view it on the Afro TV app. And if you want to sign up to be a contestant, the link is in my bio on Instagram. Go sign up. We'd love to have you.
Such a
I was looking at it. I was looking at it. I said, I'm going to stomp on these shit in this game.
Y'all should do it. Y'all should definitely do it.
That's why she want to go on the show.
Because I'm competitive.
Yeah,
so.
she's very competitive, and I don't remember anything.
But it's fun. We make it fun.
We should definitely get on the show.
That would be
Just
fun.
know you finna lose.
I know. Like, eat me up on national TV.
But you win money. Everybody leaves with money, so it doesn't matter.
And that might entice you to remember a little bit more.
There you go. It's a check.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
We
for coming on the
appreciate
show. We
I
appreciate
mean,
you.
We appreciate the work you do in the community.
Yes.
Love to see it. And
Yeah.
not just the community here, but just what you do all around. We love to see it. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
And if you want to come back and sit on the couch, we here.
I would love to.
Right, and let our audience know where they can find you. What's your social?
Yes, so all of my social media is Koya with 4 A's, Koya, but 4 of them. So
Okay.
yeah.
Y'all got that.
That's 4 A's.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's perfect.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming once again.
Thank you for joining the Hey Frienn podcast. See you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.